Imagine yourself being a prehistoric man, and out in the wild you went for hunting. In the forest, you saw a friend who is also hunting for something to eat. You saw a deer in the distance. How will you tell that friend that you have now something to eat? Is it with your hands or with the words that you should speak? Hi, my name is Chaw Omaña, and today, with my members, we are going to tell you about the origin of language based on historical and scientific events. We have heard a lot of debates on which comes first. Is it the egg or the chicken? But have we ever heard of any debates about which came first? The writing system or the speech system? Let's find out. If you will ask a few more people about the question that I have asked you a while ago, they will usually answer this through saying that the prehistoric man learned how to draw first before saying things. Going back to the situation, will it be easier if you will communicate with the other people through drawing or saying things? Now that is my first point. The topic about the origin of language based on history and science is quite a complex topic, yet there are a lot of people who have drawn conclusions on how these languages emerged from different civilizations. Now, a lot of people may have concluded that languages emerged because of the need of communication of the prehistoric man, and I agree with that. Going back to the situation that I have given from my introduction, let's just say that the prehistoric men communicated first through drawing. Well, it will take a lot of time to figure out the things in the drawing before the friend of yours could find the deer behind him. And that long span of time is the exact reason why they needed a more scientific approach to communicate, and that is through the production of sounds. Given that the people from this era are more advanced than those who are from the prehistoric times, we can say that their way of communication is just through sounds and not words like ours. Now you may ask, how come they cannot formulate some words if they have the same features to us? Well, there's some difference. As what we have already known, the people from the prehistoric times are more like the chimps than to being humans nowadays, and that's what made them different from us. You see, if we compare the two people, the person from this era and the person from the prehistoric era, their facial features are very different. Now, did you know that there is a deeper difference down to their vocal tract? Scientific studies show that the vocal tract of a prehistoric man can only be compared to what infants have. Now let me introduce you to hyoids. A hyoid is a small bone structure that is just below your chin. It's not attached to any bone structure, it's just there with your tendons and ligaments. It helps us volumize our voice and also the formulation of words. Now let us compare the hyoid of a prehistoric man and also the hyoid of a mature man from our era. As what I have said a while ago, the prehistoric men are compared to chimps than to humans. Now let us go back to the case of the infants versus the prehistoric men. They both have the same hyoid structure. And if you can remember the cooing stage of language acquisition, we can say that the prehistoric men can only produce vowel sounds. The prehistoric men are said to have only produced 3 vowel sounds. We have the a, i, and u, since they are the most distinct from each other. And believe it or not, these 3 vowel sounds are adopted by most languages around the world.
The evolution of language throughout time. It was said that all languages have the same root or origin, but it evolved differently throughout different elements. Because of geographic elements, because of invasions, and foreigners who colonized different countries, we have various languages, and if we talk about biblical, it is also different. However, there is need to communicate. That's why there is emergence of systematic form of language. And to know who made it up is unknown. Because we need to communicate, we cannot constantly saying O, A, I, as this would lead misunderstanding, because the words are varied, have different versions, have different meaning to different individuals. Since language is the most challenging subject of all, we are grateful that someone has created a systematic form of language of it. It is sad to say that his identity has not yet been discovered. One thing for sure, language's origin is full of hows and hoots. It is clearly that sounds, not words.
Good day! I am Jhon Sumabal and your news anchor for today. Historical and scientific origin of language, where and when started. There are many theories about the origin of language. Many of these have traditional amusing names invented by Max Muller and George Romanes a century ago. The first theory was the bow wow theory language. It began as imitation of natural sounds like moo, choo choo, clang, buzz, bang, meow. This is more technically referred to as onomatopoeia or echoism. The second theory is the poo-poo theory. Language began with interjection, instinctive, emotive cries such as oh for surprise and ouch for pain. Third is the ding-dong theory. Some people, including famous linguist Max Muller, have pointed out that there is a rather mysterious corresponding between sounds and meaning. This is often referred to as a sound symbolism. The next theory is the yoo-hee-hoo theory. Language began as rhythmic dance, perhaps ultimately from the grunts of heavy work. The linguist A.S. Diamond suggests that these were perhaps call for assistance or cooperation accompanied by appropriate gestures. They may relate to the ding-dong theories like cut, break, crash, and strike.
So to further discuss the historical origin of language, I have here 4 theory or hypotheses, and these are 1. Musical babies, 2. Gestural hypothesis, 3. Natural evolution hypothesis, and lastly, genetic hypothesis. And I am Yzel Bern, and I will make sure that you will learn something new from me. To begin, let's have the first theory, which is the musical babies. So Darwin himself once said, humans don't speak unless they are taught to do so. And this means that language is learned and not innate in the way that the famous linguists Noam Chomsky and Steven Pinker, the author of Language Instincts, say. So let's go on to the second theory, which is the oral gesture or gestural hypothesis. So human language developed from gestures that were used for simple communication, and language was derived from gestures. So the gestural theory states that human language was developed from gestures that were a primitive form of communication. Let's have the third hypothesis, which is the natural evolution. So in the study of evolution or evolutionary development, there are certain physical features to develop in the human beings, which give them the capability or opportunity for speaking. And now we're down to the last theory, which is the genetic hypothesis. So this believes that every human being is predisposed to learn language. We are born with the fact that we can learn a language. So the genetic biasing hypothesis of language evolution postulates that genes and language features co-evolve.
The social interaction source theory. It is the sound of a person involved in a physical effort to be the source of our language, especially when that physical effort involved several people and had to be coordinated. The importance of yoo-hee-ho theory is that it places the development of human language in some social contexts. Early people live in groups. Groups offered better protection from attack, and groups are social organizations. Yoo-hee-ho theory is a speculative theory that human language emerged from instinctive voices made by humans during physical exertion and especially while involved in a collective rhythmic labor. And one of these examples is that if you lifted a heavy thing, you might have let out a groan or a kind of sound. This story claims that language came from the sounds we made while doing at work.